Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and of course I'm doing another review video, and the album that I'm reviewing is the new album by Denner Shermann, Michael Denner and Hank Shermann, titled Masters of Evil, which is the follow-up to 2015's debut EP, Satan's Tomb. Now, if you don't know who Michael Denner and Hank Shermann are, they were of course very more known for being the guitar players for Mercyful Fate, which of course had the singer King Diamond. Now, outside of Mercyful Fate, Michael Denner and Hank Shermann did do other projects that they are also known for. Hank Shermann, of course, which this whole thing did lead to the reason why Mercyful Fate split up in the first place during the early parts of the 80s. Mid parts, I shall say, forming Fate because of personal musical differences. But of course, Michael Denner would also later also join King Diamond still during the really early King Diamond albums, and which of course all this was leading up to, you know, the formation, the reformation, I shall say, of, you know, Mercyful Fate during the early parts of the 90s. And of course, also during the 2000s, Michael Denner and Hank Shermann will also form another band by the title name of Force of Evil. Or was it Forces of Evil? I think it was Force of Evil. But I am correct on that. And which that only led for about 2 albums, and then that was pretty much it. I think there was even another band also during that they had. I know they were also part of the punk band, the Brats, not to be confused with the fucking whatever. And then of course, just quite a bit of other projects that these two seem, you know, be a part of, and of course this is their newest project. Now, they did recruit Snowy Shaw, who was of course played with King Diamond and Mercyful Fate. King Diamond on the I album, and Mercyful Fate on albums such as Time. I think that is the only album he's played, but here he's drumming from bass player, not nearly as known as far as I'm concerned. The only person I really do recognize is the singer, who is Sean Peck, known for singing with Christian power metal band Cage. And even also sing with Death Dealer, which I think was, oh shit, Ross the Boss. I think that was his band, or am I probably wrong? But, so pretty much it's kind of like a super group of various different musicians. But the one goal with Denner Shermann for this project is to go back to that early Mercyful Fate sound. One that was present on such as Don't Break the Oath, Melissa, or even the EP. Just very close, even like In the Shadows maybe, in terms of musical diff, though In the Shadows and most of the rest of the 90s stuff were kind of close to King Diamond's solo work than really the early sort of dark sound. Now, let's finally get to the music. So this might be a little long video, I don't know. But if you're part of the Heart of Metal forum, or let's say you're in Forces of Steel, you probably should know by now, or even if you're a friend of me on Facebook, that I'm not too in what Michael Denner and Hank Shermann are doing with this project. It's not because of lyrics, because it's not because I'm a Christian or I'm some anti-saint, you know, it's not because of that. I think the writing, for one, and is just not as strong. And I think that's where the issue kind of lies with this album. Yes, we're definitely getting into it. For me, this could have been so much because of these are two highly sort of praised guitar players when it comes to the underground metal scene, and, you know, a Mercyful Fate. You expect a bit much from these guys, but I think the fact that I think they used a lot of their ideas probably with Force of Evil. That's not to say that this is bad. This is definitely it's not a bad album. It's definitely, you know, it's enjoyable. It's still listenable. But I think there's a lot of things I think kind of, you know, kind of holds the album back from being, you know, being really good. And that's definitely one thing why I wasn't really all that much even wanting to get the EP in the first place as well. Because after hearing tracks and such, it just sounds like they're trying a bit too hard to bring back that sort of chemistry of the early Mercyful Fate material. Now, I know there's some people that have kind of, you know, kind of stated that it maybe has to do with the singer Sean Peck. I know there's some people that do not care for Sean Peck's singing style on this album, with them saying he's a little bland. I will say this. He does tend to look like a modern Rob Halford. And I think he really does want to look like Rob Halford. I will state that. The whole bald, you know, the way Rob Halford's looking these days. And of course, even trying to sound like Rob Halford, even though he kind of seems to sound on this one more like Carl Albert of Vicious Rumors, in a way. But that's not the issue with this album. If anything, this album is not because of singing. The singing, I think he's probably trying not to sound too much like Rob Halford on here. Though, let alone the track Son of Satan, which I will get to. But for one thing, again, I think I did point out that it's definitely also has to do with the lyrics being, some has stated in the Heart of Metal Phone that's too over the top. It's not because it's over the top. I think they're just trying way too hard to bring back that writing. The thing is, King Diamond was a believer in that, you know, in the Satanism stuff. He read the Bible, the Satanic Bible and stuff. He did his research on that shit. So that's why those lyrics, I think, really were dark. It was because he really dabbled a lot into that. And I think some of these guys in this band, I don't think ever dabbled that much into it. It just sounds like your typical Pretender-like stuff. I think that's where it also holds this album back, if anything. Because if you want to really go back to that, you have to have somebody that really dabbled a lot into that stuff in order to really make the lyrics actually, you know, stand out, if anything. And I think that's where the issue, I think, lies with it. It just sounds too comic booky as well. Son of Satan. But I'm now finally going to get to the main reason for why I think why this album is being held back. It's the production. Yes, the production, I think, holds this album back from being at least, you know, good. The drums, Snowy Shaw's drums sound way too thin. I think even the drum snare sound on Living Death's Vengeance of Hell, the original mix, not the remix from 1985, actually had much better sound than this. This just sounds like it was recorded inside a plastic thin can. And even the guitar sound on here isn't all that grabbing. The riffs, at least, are there, but I think it just sounds a bit too weak. And I think the production, if it had a much more earthier, more organic sort of, you know, let's say, thick, you know, sort of fat type of production. Let's say the production of like, at terms of today, let's say Ram's Subversum, or even like Enforcers from Beyond, or even some Ambush's production, you know, on their albums. If it had the production of some of those albums, it probably would kind of, you know, give the album a bit more boost, a little more in reinvigoration. It would make it sound more, you know, at least, you know, but the production here, it's a bit too thin, and I think it kind of robs the album a bit of any heaviness. So with that, Is there anything good about the album that I like? I think I've stated that the riffs are not too bad. As far as tracks, the Pentagram and the Cross and the Wolf Feeds at Night are the only two tracks in here that I actually kind of dig. The rest, they all plod around in some places. At times, it just... even the title track isn't nearly... I think it's just not nearly as strong as those two tracks that I just, mentioned. But, however, prior to this album, I did, they did release, Angel's Blood and Son of Satan, which last night, the music video for Son of Satan was released, and Angel's Blood isn't all that bad of a track, but it's okay. Son of Satan, though, was a little better, but come on. Son of Satan, really? And of course the lyrics repeat itself. How many times you gotta repeat the words Son of Satan, Son of Satan, how many times you gotta fucking repeat it? I already get what the track is called. The whole, it's probably one of the weakest songs off this album. And it just, the whole, again, trying a bit too much to recapture that early stuff. It's just way too, forced. So with that said, I guess it's time to get to the score. I have to go with a 7.5 out of 10. This is just... 7 is definitely the best. I'm not going to do 6 because it's not really that weak of an album. Again, there's potential. The one thing about this had potential to be at least very good. But I think it's just, there's a lot of setbacks in terms of this. Now, I will say the production is at least better than... Redeemer Souls. I had to let that out. It just wasn't coming out. Oh God. But it's still, there's a lot of setbacks though. So a 7.5 is pretty much the score I'm going with. It's not a bad album, but it just could have been a little better. Now, I did have sort of, going into this album, because again, I wasn't too, sold on the stuff from, that I heard off the Satan's Tomb EP. I wasn't too, kind of, set on buying that one because of the, the music. I wasn't too impressed. Here, I'm still not that impressed, but it's not really anything bad. But I'm not really still sure if I really want to go out and actually buy this, because there's still more stuff that I reviewed that I would like to get into my collection that's actually, at least I really enjoyed more than this. So, if you have heard this album, I know it just came out today. So, if you have, what are your thoughts? If you have any thoughts, you can post your comments down below. Until then, this is Heavy Thrasher saying I'm out. I'll see you later.